Here we go. Hit it, Steve.
These words are by Emma Currier from her coming of age class in 2009. We light this chalice in the hope that someday the world can come together, not with hate, prejudice, and resentment, but rather with love, dreams, and understanding.
Good morning. These are words from former UUA President Reverend Peter Morales. As a religious people who affirm human compassion, advocate for human rights, and seek justice, we must never make the mistake of confusing a legal right with a moral right. The forced removal of Native Americans from their land and onto reservations was legal. The importation and sale of enslaved Africans was legal. South African apartheid was legal. The confiscation of the property of the Jews at the beginning of the Nazi regime was legal. The Spanish Inquisition was legal. Crucifying Jesus was legal. Burning Michael Servetus at the stake for his Unitarian theology was legal. The fact that something is legal does not cut much ethical ice. The powerful have always used the legal system to oppress the powerless. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 318, We Would Be One.
Which you can find in the order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning. Do it again. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, as ever, those who are here for the very first time. There are blue cards, connection cards in the pews, a way to stay in touch with us. Welcome to those who have been here forever. We have people who are here for the first time. We also have guests this morning from Temple Isaiah in Lexington, as well as First Parish in Concord, and who knows from wherever else. This is a Unitarian Universalist congregation where our principal affirmations are ones of freedom and reason and toleration, which may be expanded to hospitality, as in this wonderful cover by Lily Barsom Thompson. And hospitality includes being hospitable to people and to ideas different from ourselves. That's part of our own spiritual discipline, and that's what this morning's service is all about. At the back of your order of service, there are so many things going on. There is a concert here this afternoon, and then take a look at the announcements, and all of them are important. Look at the proposed design for a stained glass window in our common room. There are caring cards to be signed. There are all kinds of ballot initiative petitions that are important that you can see during community hour. Upcoming 12 questions class, a blood pressure clinic, and poet Billy Collins. Please pay attention to his coming here on October 19, and it is helpful if you reserve your tickets online. And then there's more stuff about rides to First Parish and focal points, and all kinds of things are going on around here. We do not have candles of joy and concern as usual today. However, after the service, someone will be by that candle stand. If there is a candle you may wish to light in private. This service this morning is put together by our sanctuary committee, and I'm going to read the names of all those on that committee, and all of them except one are sitting up here, and you're going to have to look around to see where that other one is sitting. But we begin and wave as I say your name: Julie Zacharakis, Christine Dudley Marling, Judy Curcio, Diana Feiner, Lee Beth King, wherever she may be, Mary Lou Barsom, Kathy Cordes, Vito Lamura, Judith Fridiani, Sylvia Cowan, Lisa Rubin, and myself. This group has been one of the most hard-working committees I have ever seen around First Parish. Sensitive, cohesive, thoughtful, and forceful advocates for immigration justice. And they haven't yet begun to get themselves in the deep trouble they may soon get themselves in. So stay tuned. If you have not yet visited the room that we have prepared, should we have someone facing imminent deportation living here in this building, please do visit that room upstairs over the corner office, and you may go and look at that. And go ahead on the first floor. You may take a shower in the unisex bathroom, and again, do your laundry in the new washer dryer downstairs. You know, one of the challenges of the Unitarian Universalist tradition is that we are very individualistic, and that is a strength in many ways, but it is also a challenge both personally and institutionally when there are important purposes greater than ourselves to be accomplished. And when it comes to immigration justice, that is a national emergency. It is indeed a global emergency. And we need ourselves to be cohesive in ways that we are unaccustomed to being cohesive. And we need to work with other churches and faith communities so that together we may be more effective than we could possibly be alone. And you should know, and I think you would be proud, that our congregation, First Parish Bedford, is one of the leading congregations in the sanctuary movement. We are perhaps the only Unitarian Universalist congregation in New England to be a level 1 sanctuary, being prepared to provide physical sanctuary. But we have the support of a great many level 2 congregations of all faiths that are prepared to work in coalition with us in support of these efforts. And I hope that we may be proud of all of this. Now, let me see if I have said all that I am here to say. Let's conclude with a call and response made known by Reverend William Barber. You know William Barber in North Carolina. The slogan of that movement is "Forward together, not one step back." And so I say forward together, and you say not one step back. Forward together.
Not one step back.
Once more, forward together.
Not one step back.
Lisa Rubin, you're up.
Good morning. Sometimes Owl has a story that she wants me to tell, like today. Once, not long ago, there was a flood due to bad storms that flooded out homes, families, animals. It even flooded out the birds in the trees from their homes. Sparrow was looking for a new place to build a nest for herself and her children. She heard that churches were a good place to go. So she flew and flew with her children, getting very tired behind her, until they reached a beautiful church with a tall steeple. And she spoke to the people. It's a story, remember? She spoke to the people and asked if she could build a nest there for herself and her children. And the people said, well, we're a very busy church, and we have lots of people. And if we let you build a nest, then other birds and sparrows will want to build a nest, and there'll be just too many of you, and that won't work for us. So off, hungry and tired, Sparrow and her children flew to another church. And she asked them if she could build a nest there. And they said, well, you look kind of dirty, and your feathers are all ruffled up. So if you bathe and come back, then maybe we could let you stay then and build your nest. And she said, oh, we don't have time for all that. We'll just fly on, hungry and tired, until we find another church. And so they did. And the next church they came to had a beautiful tall steeple and was a lovely church. And when she asked the people, could she build a nest for herself and her children, the people said, well, we don't know you. You're a stranger to us. And so we don't know if you're a good sparrow or a bad sparrow. So we're sorry, we can't have you build your nest here. So one more time, the sparrow flew off, not knowing what to do, and she flew over a church. It wasn't as pretty as all the others, and it didn't have a tall steeple. But she went to the people in the church, and she asked them if she could build a nest for herself and her babies, her children. And the people said, well, we're very crowded. Some of us have lost our homes too. We don't have very good food here right now, and there's only one bathroom. And a lot of us sleep in one room at a time. And it might keep you and your children up, hearing us snoring and trying to sleep. And the sparrow felt dejected and didn't know what to do. And then she heard the voices of the people say, but we'd really like you to stay. If you will please stay with us, we'd love to have you build your nest here. So Sparrow built her nest at the church, and her babies thrived and became happy. And because they were happy, everyone sang, all the birds sang outside. And the whole town started seeing how lovely the sound was and how indeed beautiful that church really was. That's the end of the story.
One more thing about this morning. If you have questions about what it means to have someone living in sanctuary means in a practical day-to-day sense, this committee will be available during community hour today and at discussion at 11:30 upstairs in the Bacon Room overlooking the town common. And there will also be follow-up information sessions in October. And now, as kids and teachers go off to their ingathering, Buffy will lead us in the song Sanctuary.
If you know it, sing it. You'll learn it as it goes. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Love, prepare me. Love, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. One more time. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Good morning. I am telling the story of how we got here. So many of you will already know the story, but bear with me. In 2015, Josh Leach, our then student minister, shared with us that 1 in every 122 people on this earth is a refugee, and asked us if we can look them in the eye and explain, sorry, we looked around and we couldn't find any space for you in this vast land or in our hearts. Around the same time, John described his experience at the Arizona-Mexico border, highlighting the injustice and immorality of U.S. immigration policies. He ended with the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., "Where do we go from here?" Coupled with what was being said on the presidential campaign trail to stir up fear, it became a perfect time to consider how we live our faith. The 7 principles of our UU faith are both deeply inspiring and deeply demanding. The first one asks us to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. What if we added beginning in our homes and congregations? Toward this end, Josh initiated a group to consider new sanctuary movement support. We wrote resolutions for the congregation to approve. The resolutions passed in June 2016, declaring solidarity with the new sanctuary movement, and the congregation formed a task force to explore the possibility of offering sanctuary on the premises to an individual at risk for deportation. The task force began meeting in September of 2016, and we faced a steep learning curve. We needed to understand the differing status of immigrants. There are here in Massachusetts undocumented people, sans papiers, both those who are known to immigrants and immigration and enforcement, and those who are still unknown. These refugees are the new face of immigrants. They are fleeing for their lives against violence, drought, war, and flooding. They may have committed a civil infraction by coming here, but who among us has not gotten a parking or a speeding ticket? Yes, it is only a civil infraction, not a criminal offense. Back to the story of how we got here. The task force identified community groups with whom we could partner, such as Jobs with Justice, Massachusetts Communities Action Network, and UU Mass Action, and we reached out to them. At this point, the group had some concerns about the risks to us of offering someone sanctuary, and we lost track of our original charge from the congregation. Then the election happened, and it was clear we needed to accelerate our efforts. Those potentially seeking sanctuary are putting everything on the line and are often risking their lives. That put our concerns into perspective. We also reached out to Katya Hansen at UU Rise, who was a valuable resource for our financial questions, legal concerns, and insurance issues. We shared this information with the congregation in many ways, asking all of us to enter into a discernment process of what it would be like to offer sanctuary to someone within our walls. On April 2nd, 2017, the congregation voted to affirm First Parish as a sanctuary site. Since that time, a sanctuary room has been prepared, a shower and washer-dryer installed, all paid for with funds raised through a Faithify campaign. At the same time, there continue to be stories in the news of how undocumented people are being rounded up, placed in detention, and deported, leaving children without fathers or mothers. DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and TPS, Temporary Protective Status, recipients are losing their status, and the immigrant communities are living in fear. We have also partnered with the larger interfaith community to ask for support if we should have someone request sanctuary. We developed volunteer information sessions here at First Parish for prospective supporting faith communities. 10 communities of faith attended to learn what the support of someone in sanctuary will require. There will be sessions for our congregation coming on October 3rd and October 11th. We hope you will come and listen with your heart's ear. And if you would also listen to the stories Vito and Mary Lou are about to share, as they will give you a more personal perspective on what undocumented immigrants are experiencing right here in our backyard.
Good morning. In 2010, the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals found, for purposes of U.S. immigration law, quote, "The record compels a finding that Christians in Indonesia are a disfavored group." The court blamed the rise of anti-Christian sentiment on then-President Suharto's consorting with militant groups in the 1990s in order to maintain his power, noting that he had purged his cabinet and army of Christians and replaced them with fundamentalist Muslims. According to the ruling, the court said, Christian churches throughout Indonesia have been burned, bombed, and vandalized. These attacks, which continue to occur today across Indonesia, are often accompanied by that message, death to all Christians. Terry Helmuth Rambat is a Christian. Like many of the Indonesian immigrants in New Hampshire, he fled his home country during the peak of Christian persecution in the late 1990s. There are currently around 70 Indonesians living as undocumented immigrants in and around our neighboring state to the north. They have all applied for asylum after overstaying their visas, but their applications inexplicably were denied. While ICE, the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, knows where these folks are, none has faced deportation until now. Terry, who is a member of the Maranatha Indonesian United Church of Christ congregation in Madbury, New Hampshire, is one of those Indonesian asylum seekers. He's been living in New Hampshire for the past 16 years. He filed taxes every year. He supported countless other community activities. He has actively participated every year in programs to feed the needy. He is a beloved member of his congregation. A number of us recently attended a prayer vigil for Terry at the doors of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency in Burlington. His friends described a gentle soul, beloved by all who know him, a pillar of faith, a man of good works. Terry Rambat has done everything ICE has demanded of him for the past 16 years, complying with regular ICE check-ins. On August 21st, there were 23 members of the Maranatha Indonesian United Church of Christ who were told that they would be deported in a month. However, Terry Rambat, for reasons known only to ICE, was the only one who was detained. At that time, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency would not confirm the reason for his arrest, nor the schedule for his deportation. However, as it turned out, he was quickly scooped up and recently was actually placed on a plane at Logan Airport, his deportation imminent. Fortunately, his lawyers were able to get a judge to grant a very last-minute stay of deportation while his case is reviewed. However, he was placed in and remains in detention, where, given the backlog of immigration cases in present-day America, he may languish for several years. Terry has a heart condition. A close friend said Terry takes medication for his condition and fears not only for his safety in Indonesia as a Christian, but also for his health, because the medication he takes is not available there. His pastor, Reverend Sandra Ponto, feels that more of the undocumented immigrants in her community from Indonesia will be deported in the future. New Hampshire State Senator David Waters, at a recent interfaith service in support of the Indonesian community, said, "I know that families are being torn asunder, and sometimes we feel we have only words to offer." Waters added, "And we at First Parish shout out loud and clear in agreement, it is time to turn our words into action."
It's time to turn our words into action. This is for the 99.9% of us who are fed up with this horror show. And you know something? We're doing something about it. The words are printed in your order of service, and I've also included the melody to the first verse, the melody to all the verses. And please join us as you are able and the Spirit moves you. You'll get the hang of it pretty quickly. So, we are forging a chain of hearts. We're stronger together than we are apart, sharing our struggle, our joy and our pain, link by link, heart to heart, we are forging a chain. We are forging a chain of souls. We're finding our power and shaping our goals, sharing our journey, our lives to reclaim, link by link, soul to soul, we are forging a chain. We are forging a chain of minds. Though each one's unique, they're all of a kind, sharing our stories, rejecting your frames, link by link, mind to mind, we are forging a chain. Bellows of outrage fan the coals, kindling spirits and sparking souls. The hammer of justice strikes the anvil of law, bending the arc of history to our cause. We are not afraid and we are not asleep. We are not your peasants and we're not your sheep. If you try to divide us, you will only unite us. The longer you persist, the stronger we resist. 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 Stronger! The longer you persist, the stronger we resist. Louder! Longer you persist, the stronger we resist. The longer you persist, the stronger we resist. The longer you persist, the stronger we resist. We are forging a chain that's built to last, with hope for the future and strength from the past. chain. We are forging a chain. We are forging a chain, an indivisible chain. We are forging a chain.
Joy by Archbishop Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama. Now ask yourself, what is my heart's desire? What do I wish for myself, for my loved ones, and for the world? Our deepest desires are likely to involve living with profound human values that lead to our greatest happiness, calling us back to our place within the fabric of life. Dalai Lama has a simple way of testing our intentions. Is it just for me or for others? For the benefit of the few or the many? For now or for the future? For the ongoing amazing work of this church, both within and outside these walls, our offering will now be collected.
Hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
The stories you've heard this morning are only two of the thousands and thousands of people categorized in this country as undocumented immigrants and their families. To know the hardships and sacrifices that they've made to arrive in the U.S., and then to have them live in fear of our government, just goes against the values that are represented in that Statue of Liberty that stands at the entrance to New York City. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, your wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. This is the spirit of welcoming the stranger that I associate with this country, the light of liberty standing tall. Not 5 a.m. raids or people disappearing off the street and then languishing in ICE detention for 2 or 3 years while they await trial in a U.S. civil court system that is too overwhelmed for speedy trials. This is the spirit I associate with this congregation. It's the covenant we affirm each Sunday. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Say it again with me now. Love is the spirit, and service is its law. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Welcoming the stranger, it's not a nice thing to do. It's how we live our faith. It's who we are as a congregation at our best. The Bible says in Hebrews 13:2, "Let mutual love continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing that, some have entertained angels without knowing it." My work before my recent retirement brought me daily to the work of introducing people around the world to one another. As the bumper sticker says, it's a most radical thing. The people I connected were people who did not know one another, so there are many stories of welcoming the stranger. One of my favorite stories comes from Marlon Lavenhauer, the minister of All Souls UU in Tulsa. Before he went to divinity school, Marlon taught English in Japan. After his job was done there, Marlon decided to go the long way home. So he got a bike and he biked across Asia, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and Europe before flying home to Boston. And he did this with very little money and not a lot of stuff. And Marlon says, everywhere he went, he was welcomed with amazing hospitality. People welcomed him into their yards to sleep, into their homes for a cup of tea or something to eat. They let him wash up in the water from their well. And invariably, when it came time to leave, there would be goodbyes and then this admonition. Now, you watch out when you go to, and here they would name the next country or the next village. The people there, they would say, are not as nice as we are. But of course, they always were. I, too, have been the recipient of amazing hospitality from strangers in the humblest of homes, in the Khasi Hills in India, in Kenya, in the Philippines, in Transylvania, and many of you have had similar experiences. And I, too, have been warned about the people in the next country. And recently, I'm beginning to hear warnings about the people in those other states, as the culture of fear spreads in this country. I hope we can renew our efforts to introduce people to one another, because we know that when you get to know the other, it is much harder to demonize the other. First Parish practices amazing hospitality all the time. Serving meals in Lowell and Bedford, our peace and justice work, our partnerships around the world, to mention just a few, and most recently, our work in the sanctuary movement. First Parish voted to become a sanctuary church, and if someone comes here for sanctuary, each one of us will be asked to open our hearts to them and share our lives and our space. I hope that some of the lessons that Marlon learned on his ride across the continents are the same lessons that we have learned through our work at First Parish. The need to reach out to others and introduce ourselves, the power of hospitality to heal and serve, the mutuality of partnership. I hope that we are beginning to understand these words spoken by an Aboriginal activist group in Australia. If you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound with mine, then let us work together. And one final thought. The sanctuary movement is not about us saving them, but it might be about how we save ourselves.